It's fine, Min Jun shouted over the smoke alarm, waving a spatula like a man defusing a bomb. It's under control. Nothing about this is under control, Jay called back from the table, not even looking up from his phone. Zara poked one of the pancakes with a fork. It didn't move so much as it resisted. Dad, I think this pancake has a passport. It's been through customs. It's seen things. The table erupted into laughter. Amina, decorating cupcakes at the counter, smiled without looking up. You could just let me cook breakfast, she said. Absolutely not, Min Jun said, setting the pan down with the pride of a man serving a 5-course meal. I am improving, slowly, but improving. You said that 4 months ago, Noah said. I meant it 4 months ago too. Jay cleared his throat. Something in his posture changed. He reached under the table and pulled out a thick folder, setting it down in the middle of the syrup and coffee cups. We've had a family meeting. Family meetings, Min Jun said carefully, never end well. Written across the folder, in Zara's unmistakable oversized marker handwriting, Operation Marry Mom. Min Jun nearly dropped his coffee. Amina choked on hers. What is this? Last time, Zara said, grinning so wide it looked like it hurt, we interrupted your wedding. Today, we're planning one. 6 months, Noah said, sliding the folder closer. You two have been figuring things out for 6 months. We did the math. At this rate, you'll get married the same year Zara graduates college. I'm 16, Zara said. That's not a compliment to your pace. Min Jun opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. Before he could find any words at all, the television above the pastry case cut to a breaking news banner. Chairwoman Ha Eun Kang has returned to Korea after 8 years abroad, sources confirming her arrival this morning ahead of the company's highly anticipated merger announcement. Min Jun's smile disappeared like it had never existed. So, Amina said quietly, setting down her cup. She's back. Why does the mention of one woman's name undo a man who once stood down 300 wedding guests and a room full of television cameras? Who is Chairwoman Kang? And why has Min Jun never once mentioned her in 6 months of rebuilding his life? Before we go further, tell us in the comments what time it is right now wherever you're watching from, and which country you're tuning in from tonight. Some of you just finished dinner. Some of you are curled up under blankets at 2 a.m. because you couldn't sleep without knowing what happens next. Either way, settle in. Who is she? Zara asked, already reaching for her phone to search. My mother, Min Jun said. You have a mother? Noah asked. This whole time you've had a mother and never mentioned her? There wasn't a good moment. Dad, we found out you had 3 secret kids at your own wedding. There's never going to be a good moment for anything in this family again. You should just start leading with the worst part. Min Jun didn't laugh. That, more than anything, told them how serious this was. She runs the company with me, he said. Ran it, really, before I did. She's been in Switzerland for 8 years. We don't talk much. Why not? Jay asked. Min Jun hesitated. It's complicated. Everything in this family is complicated, Zara said. We're used to it. Is she scary? Noah asked. Extremely, Min Jun said, without a trace of humor. Scarier than the paparazzi that camped outside for a week after the wedding? Zara asked. Different kind of scary. The paparazzi wanted a photo. My mother wants a spreadsheet of every reason this is a bad idea, and she will have already written it before she walks in the door. So she's basically a villain, Zara said. She's not a villain, Min Jun said, more sharply than he meant to. Then softer. She's just careful, in a way that costs people things. Jay studied his father's face for a long moment. Costs people like you? Min Jun didn't answer that either. That, too, told them everything. That night, Jay found Noah in their shared bedroom and said what had been sitting in his chest all evening. You notice he didn't actually answer Zara's question? Which one? Why he doesn't talk to his own mother? Noah shrugged. Maybe some things take longer than 6 months to explain. Or maybe, Jay said, some things run in the family. You think Dad's scared of her the way we used to be scared of finding out who our dad even was? Jay didn't answer right away. I think fear looks the same on everybody. Rich, poor, billionaire, teenager, doesn't matter. 6 months had passed since the wedding that wasn't, and this family had rebuilt itself one clumsy Tuesday at a time. Minjun still burned things. He still didn't understand basketball. Dad, you can't just yell "shoot it" every time someone touches the ball. Why not? It worked twice. It did not work twice. You yelled it during a free throw, and the kid missed because you startled him. That sounds like a him problem. It sounds like a you problem, Dad. I refuse to accept that. Jay had started asking for driving lessons, not because he needed them, but because it was 20 minutes where nobody had to perform. You're gripping the wheel like it insulted your mother, Minjun said once. You're one to talk. You almost hit a mailbox last week. That mailbox came out of nowhere. It's been there 30 years, Dad. Then it should have moved by now. That's not how mailboxes work. I'm aware of how mailboxes work, Jay. Are you, though? Zara, for her part, had made it her personal mission to embarrass her father at every possible opportunity, which he seemed to find far less humiliating than she intended. Dad picked me up from school in a suit again, she announced at dinner one night. Do you know what that does to my social standing? I came straight from a board meeting. You could have changed in the car. I don't keep a change of clothes in the car, Zara. Well, maybe you should, for the sake of my reputation. Your reputation survived 300 wedding guests watching me have a breakdown at my own wedding. I think it can survive a suit. Amina watched all of it from her usual careful distance. One night, drying dishes, Zara said what all three of them had been thinking. They're obviously still in love. Like, embarrassingly obvious. They're just scared, Noah said. Last time they rushed things and it took 16 years to fix. So somebody's going to have to push them, Jay said. Gently, legally. Nothing illegal this time. No promises, Zara said. Zara. I said, no promises. Jay, not. I will definitely commit several crimes. Those are different sentences. And that was how Operation Marry Mom was born. A romantic candlelight dinner, Zara announced, spreading a hand-drawn plan across Jay's bed. Just the two of them. I'll handle the reservations. Why do you get to handle the reservations? Noah asked. Because I'm the one with a fake ID for exactly this purpose. That's concerning on multiple levels. Noted, moving on. What she hadn't accounted for was that her reservation, made under a fake name, had accidentally merged with a private corporate dinner. Amina and Minjun arrived to find themselves wedged between 4 solar energy executives. This is the least romantic dinner of my life, Amina muttered. I would like it on record, Minjun said, that I did not choose this restaurant. I know exactly who chose this restaurant. In my defense, Zara said later, when confronted, the restaurant looked really nice online. It was a corporate dinner, Zara. It photographed beautifully. That's all I had to go on. Attempt 2 was Noah's idea, locking their parents in the cafe's walk-in storage room overnight for forced bonding. He forgot the door locked from both sides and ended up trapped in there with them. This is not the romantic evening I imagined, Noah admitted, sitting on an overturned bucket. There was no romantic evening planned, Noah, Amina said. There was a lock-in, which is a crime. It's not a crime. It is extremely close to a crime. Can we at least agree the flower bags are surprisingly comfortable? No, Noah, we cannot agree on that. Attempt 3. Anonymous flowers meant for the cafe. Arrived instead, thanks to a transposed address, at the hotel suite of one recently returned chairwoman Kang, who spent 20 minutes convinced someone was trying to bribe her. I don't know how this got here, Minjun said later, holding up a wedding magazine Zara had taped inside the refrigerator. Neither do I, Zara said, not looking up from her phone. You wrote for research on a sticky note. That could be anyone's handwriting. It's your handwriting, Zara. It has hearts over the eyes. Circumstantial. Attempt 4 was a fake accidental movie date. Each parent told separately that the other had already bought tickets. It fell apart when both arrived, to find a sold-out theater and 3 suspiciously guilty teenagers loitering by the concessions. Why do you both look like you just robbed a bank? Amina asked. No reason, Jay said. At the exact moment Noah blurted, it was Zara's idea. Traitor, Zara hissed under her breath. Self-preservation, Noah corrected calmly, already backing toward the exit. Attempt 5 was Noah announcing, with total sincerity, that he'd scheduled the family for counseling, which turned out to be Noah in a borrowed office chair with a legal pad, asking, "And how does it make you feel, seeing each other every day, for 6 months, being obviously in love?" "Noah," Amina said, "you are not a therapist. I watched several videos. That does not qualify you. It qualified me enough to ask the question, and you didn't deny it, which I'm writing down." Jay, who insisted he was the mature one, rigged the cafe's jukebox to only play slow romantic songs whenever their parents were in the room. It jammed permanently on the same song, looping so relentlessly that by the third night, Amina threatened to throw it in the river. "I fixed the wiring myself," Jay said, mortified. "You broke the wiring," Noah corrected. "Same thing, different outcome." "Those are not the same thing, Jay. Those are opposite things. I understand that now." But underneath the chaos, something quieter was happening. Amina and Minjun had started staying up after closing. Just the two of them, wiping counters that didn't need wiping, talking about nothing and everything. "Do you remember our first apartment?" Minjun asked one night, drying a mug slowly, in no hurry to finish. "The one with the radiator that only worked in July? I remember you insisting you could fix it yourself and making it worse. I made one adjustment." "You made it explode, Minjun. A minor explosion. There is no such thing as a minor explosion in a radiator. We survived. Barely. And with soot on the ceiling for 6 months." He laughed, and something in the sound of it, easy, unguarded, nothing like the careful boardroom laugh he used everywhere else, made Amina go quiet for a moment. "What?" he asked. "Nothing. I just haven't heard you laugh like that in a long time. Not really. Not since before. I haven't had much to laugh about like that. Until recently. 16 years is a long time to go without laughing properly." "It is," he agreed. "I don't intend to go that long again." They didn't say anything else for a while after that. They didn't need to. The silence between them had stopped being something either of them was afraid of. "They know we know, right?" Zara whispered to her brothers one night, watching from the stairwell as their parents laughed together over closing chores. And they have to know by now. "I don't think they care anymore," Jay said. "I think that's the point. Is it possible to fall in love with the same person twice? And if you do, does it count as a second chance? Or is it just the first one, finally finished?" Ha-Yun Kang walked into the cafe for the first time on a Tuesday morning, and the whole room seemed to hold its breath. Silver-streaked hair pulled back with precision, a coat that cost more than the cafe's monthly rent, eyes that missed nothing. "You must be Ha-Yun," Zara said, sticking out a hand. "I've heard so much about you. Well, actually, I've heard almost nothing about you, which is kind of the problem, but—" "Zara," Amina said quietly, "I'm working on it." Hafing shook her hand once, precisely, and said nothing. "I'm Noah," Noah said, offering a small wave. "We have the same nose, apparently. Dad said so." "Did he?" Ha-Yun said, studying Noah's face with an intensity that made him fidget. "I'm Jay," Jay said, not extending a hand, arms crossed instead. "You already know that. You've probably had us investigated." "Jay," Amina warned. "It's a reasonable assumption," Ha-Yun said, unbothered. "And yes, I have." "See?" Jay said. "We're being evaluated. You are being met." Ha-Yun corrected. "There is a difference, though I understand your skepticism." "Definitely," Noah murmured to Jay under his breath. Later, Ha-Yun sat across from her son at the same small table where he'd once been told for the first time that he had a family. "I don't object to the children," she said. "Understand that." "Then what is this?" "Timing. The merger closes in 3 months. Every shareholder, every board member, every reporter is watching this company for any sign of instability. It is a story, Minjun. And stories move markets. They're not a story. They're my children. I am aware." For a moment, something almost gentle crossed her face. "Acknowledge them after the merger closes. Quietly, for now, keep your distance." "And if I don't?" She didn't answer. She didn't have to. You did the same thing to me once, Minjun said quietly. When I told you I was marrying Amina the first time, you told me to wait, to think about optics. I waited, and look how that turned out. That is not a fair comparison, isn't it? Hyun's jaw tightened, but she said nothing. Jay heard every word from the doorway. He didn't say anything when he walked back into the kitchen. He didn't need to. What happened? Noah asked. Nothing, Jay said, which was the loudest possible way of saying everything. That night, in the dark, he finally said it out loud. I knew this was temporary. Jay, 16 years I waited for him to choose us. It took one phone call from his mother for him to start thinking about timing again. He didn't agree to anything, Noah said. You heard him. He pushed back. He hesitated first. I heard that too. Everyone hesitates, Jay. Not everyone gets a second chance to prove they won't. Will Minjun choose his family again, the way he did in that cathedral 8 months ago? Or was that easier, because there were cameras watching then, and there's no audience now but the people who actually matter? The tabloids found them within the week. Photographers camped outside the cafe. A blurry photo of Zara tripping over a curb became a meme within days, captioned with jokes about the accidental heiress. It's fine, she told Noah, scrolling through her phone with a carefully blank expression. It's actually kind of funny. You don't have to pretend it's funny. I'm not pretending. A pause. Okay, I'm a little bit pretending. You want me to say something to Dad? And do what, Noah? He can't exactly sue a 14-year-old with a meme account. That's a terrible headline. Billionaire sues child over joke about his daughter falling down. When you say it like that, it does sound bad. Everything sounds bad when I say it like that. It's a gift. A classmate cornered Noah by the lockers. So are you guys, like, rich now? Can I get a loan? That's not how family works. Whatever, rich kid. I'm not even related to the money part. Noah called after him, uselessly, to a hallway that had already stopped listening. Jay had it worse. A boy in his class said something ugly about Amina, loud enough for the hallway to hear, and Jay shoved him into a locker hard enough to draw a crowd, a teacher, and eventually a very uncomfortable phone call home. I shouldn't have done that, he said that evening, arms crossed. I know. I just couldn't stand there and let him talk about Mom like that. What exactly did he say? Minjun asked. Doesn't matter. It matters to me. He called her a gold digger, said she probably planned the whole wedding thing for the money. Jay's jaw tightened all over again, just repeating it. I know it's not true. I know none of it's true. I just couldn't stop my hands before my brain caught up. I'm not happy about the shoving, Minjun said, but I understand the instinct. That doesn't make it okay. It just makes it human. I'll apologize. To the school, not to him. Baby steps, Amina said. She didn't excuse what he'd done, but she also understood, better than anyone, what it felt like to want the noise to stop. Mom, Jay said quietly, does it bother you? What people say? Amina considered the question honestly, the way she always did. It used to. 16 years of people assuming things about a woman with 3 kids and no husband will do that to you. It bothers me less now, because I have proof it isn't true, sitting at my dinner table every night, eating burnt pancakes. He said something to me too, actually, Zara added. He said, congratulations. Your family is the strangest thing I've ever covered, and I mean that as the highest compliment I'm legally allowed to give. That's oddly sweet for a tabloid reporter, Amina said. I know. I almost cried. Then I remembered he's the one who started the accidental heiress meme, and I stopped almost crying. Understandable. For what it's worth, Jay said, I've never once thought any of it was true. Not for a second. I know. That's actually what helped the most. More than anything anyone in a newspaper ever wrote. Noah wandered in halfway through, holding his phone. The meme account made a follow-up post. It says Zara has main character energy. That's actually a compliment, Zara called from the next room. I know. I told them to say something nicer and they said it already was nice. See, this is why we don't let Noah handle PR. I handled it fine. You handled it adequately. Which is not the same as fine. Meanwhile, Hyun's warnings shifted from suggestions to demands. 6 months, she told Minjun. Distance yourselves publicly, let the merger close, and live however you like. You said 3 months a week ago. The timeline moved. Timelines don't move on their own, Mother. Someone moves them. The board is nervous. I am managing nerves. That is my job. So will my family, Minjun said. Every single time you ask. You're gambling everything I built. I'm not gambling anything. I already know what I'm choosing. I'm just waiting for you to stop asking me to pretend otherwise. You say that so easily now. I've had 16 years of practice not saying it. I'm done being quiet about who matters to me. Why does a woman who built an empire from nothing seem more afraid of a family dinner than a hostile takeover? What is she really protecting? The night before the shareholders' meeting, Min Jun didn't sleep. The next morning, the hall was packed. Board members, shareholders, a wall of cameras. Everyone expected a calm denial. He walked in holding Jay's hand. Noah on one side, Zara on the other, waving awkwardly at the cameras. Amina beside him. I know what you're expecting me to say, he began. That this is a private matter, unrelated to the company. That would be a lie, and I'm done lying about who matters to me. Murmurs rippled through the room. This is my family, all 4 of them. I missed 16 years with my children because I let pride and silence make my decisions once already. I am not doing that again. Not for a merger, not for headlines. A board member near the front stood halfway up. Mr. Kang, with respect, the shareholders deserve to understand how this affects. It doesn't affect the numbers, Min Jun said. It affects me. There's a difference, and I'd like this company to start understanding it. If acknowledging them costs this company the merger, he continued, so be it. You can rebuild a company. You cannot rebuild 16 lost years. The silence stretched until Zara leaned toward the nearest microphone and murmured, so, no further questions. And a ripple of surprised laughter broke the tension. By evening, the merger had collapsed. The stock dropped hard enough to make its own headline. Did we just lose everything? Noah asked quietly, back at the apartment. We didn't lose anything that mattered, Min Jun said. Even he didn't sound completely certain. What if the board tries to remove you? Jay asked. Can they do that? They can try. Are you scared? Min Jun thought about it honestly before answering. The way he'd learned to do around these 3. A little, but I was more scared of the version of tonight where I said nothing. That fear was worse. It's been worse for 16 years. Ha-in left without a word. Nobody heard from her for 4 days. Did the family just watch Min Jun throw away everything he built? And if he did, was it worth it? She reappeared at the cafe on a quiet Tuesday, alone. No assistants, no cameras. She ordered a coffee like any other customer. What does Noah like to eat? She asked Amina, not quite meeting her eyes. For his birthday. He likes the cinnamon rolls. He's been eating them since he could hold a fork. And Jay, what university does he dream about? He hasn't said. I think he's scared to want something that big out loud. Ha-Yun nodded slowly. Then, almost sheepishly, why does Zara insist on calling me your majesty? Amina laughed despite herself. Because you walked in looking like actual royalty and scared the life out of all of us. It stuck. I did not intend to be frightening. You wore a coat that cost more than our monthly rent to meet your grandchildren for the first time. It was always going to be a little frightening. For the first time since anyone had met her, Ha-Yun laughed. A real laugh, short and surprised, like it had been locked away and only just found the door. Can I ask you something? Amina said, emboldened. Why now? You could have stayed away. Let the lawyers handle everything from a distance. The way you handle most things, I'd guess. Ha-Hun was quiet for a long moment. I watched my son stand in front of his entire board and choose a family over a company. I have spent my whole life believing those were mutually exclusive. It turns out I was simply too afraid to test the theory myself. What were you so afraid of? Losing something I couldn't get back. I've done it before. She didn't elaborate, and Amina didn't push, but something in the older woman's face suggested there was a story there, one she wasn't ready to tell yet. I heard that, Ha-Hun said one evening, when Zara called her basically a very rich, very intimidating toddler learning how to human from the next table. I meant for you two, Zara said, and Ha-Hun's mouth twitched, almost, into a smile. You're not going to fire me for insubordination? You don't work for me, Zara. Yet. I would genuinely fear for the company. She learned Noah liked his cinnamon rolls slightly underdone and started requesting them that way. She sat through one of Jay's basketball games in a coat and sunglasses that fooled no one, left before the buzzer, and came back for the next one anyway. She asked to see one of Zara's wedding Pinterest boards purely out of curiosity and spent 20 minutes critiquing floral arrangements. "You have a real eye for this," Zara said. "I built an empire on details other people overlooked," Hyun said. "Flowers are not so different." "Careful, Grandma. Keep talking like that, and I'm officially putting you on the wedding planning committee. No takebacks." I would accept that position. That was a joke. I was not joking. One afternoon, Zara found Ha-hyun sitting alone at a corner table, staring at an old photograph on her phone that she quickly tried to put away. "Who's that?" Zara asked, sliding into the seat across from her uninvited, the way she did everything. "No one important." "You looked at it like it was someone very important." Ha-hyun was quiet for a long moment. "Someone I lost a long time ago. Before your father was even born, really." "You don't have to tell me." "I know. I find that I want to, strangely enough. It's been a long time since anyone asked." "Okay," Zara said, softer than her usual register. "I'm listening. No headset even." "That is generous of you." "I'm a generous person, Grandma. It's one of my best qualities." Ha-hyun almost smiled. She didn't finish the story that day. Some doors take longer than an afternoon to open all the way, but she didn't close it either, and for the two of them, that was its own kind of progress. Months passed. Everyone assumed Operation Mary Mom had quietly been abandoned. It had not. It was Min-jun himself who finally made the decision. Not from a scheme, but from a realization that felt less like a discovery and more like something he'd always known. Every major decision of his life had been made out of fear. This one wasn't going to be like that. He closed the cafe early on an ordinary Thursday. Only family remained. "Is this a maintenance thing?" Zara asked, looking around at the low lights and the absence of customers. "Because it doesn't smell like maintenance. It smells like Dad's cologne and nerves." "Zara," Amina said, "sit down." He knelt in front of Amina. "Amina, the first time I married you, I was too young to understand what love costs. This time, I don't want easy. I want to earn it, every single day, for as long as you'll let me." He held out a simple ring. "Will you marry me?" Zara's hand flew to her mouth. Noah grabbed Jay's arm without looking away. Jay didn't move at all, like he was afraid the moment would end if he did. Before Amina could answer, the cafe door chimed. Ha-hyun stood in the doorway. She crossed the room and set something small and gold on the table, an old, worn ring. "It belonged to Min-jun's father," she said. "I have carried it for 8 years and never found the courage to give it to anyone." She looked at her son. "I spent my life protecting a company. I forgot to protect my family. Mother, let me finish. I have practiced this on the flight over, and I will lose my nerve if you interrupt me." Min-jun, still kneeling, said nothing. She turned to Amina, composure cracking completely, tears slipping free. "If you'll allow me, I would like to gain a daughter, properly, not evaluated, just welcomed." The cafe was utterly silent. "I'd like that," Amina said softly, then to Min-jun, "Yes. Yes, I'll marry you." The cafe exploded, Zara shrieking loud enough to rattle the windows, Noah laughing while wiping his eyes, Jay finally letting himself smile the way he hadn't in 16 years. "Does this mean Operation Mary Mom is officially over?" Noah asked, once the noise died down. "Absolutely not," Zara said. "This is just Phase 2. Phase 2 is the wedding itself. I've already started a folder." "There is a folder?" Min-jun asked, alarmed. "There is always a folder, Dad. Get used to it." "What's in Phase 3? Jay asked, half joking. "Grandkids," Zara said, without missing a beat. "Zara, I'm just saying. Somebody has to think ahead in this family. Clearly it's me. You are 16. And extremely forward-thinking for my age. It's one of my best qualities. You said that about being generous an hour ago. I contain multitudes, Jay. Is it possible for a family to be built twice? Once by blood and once by choice? And which one matters more?" The wedding happened exactly where everything had begun. Amina's table, 30 people, string lights instead of chandeliers, cinnamon rolls instead of imported flowers. You know, Zara said, adjusting her headset for the 5th time that morning. Last time we crashed a wedding in this outfit budget. Now we're hosting one. Growth. Nobody asked you to wear a headset, Jay said. Everybody needs a director of wedding operations, Jay. It's a real job. I looked it up. You did not look it up. You looked up something loosely, tangentially adjacent to it, on a website that was mostly advertisements. I looked up something that still counts, in my book. Jay walked his mother down the narrow aisle between mismatched chairs, and at the last few steps his composure cracked just slightly. You okay? Amina whispered. Yeah, Jay said, voice thick. This is the good kind of nervous. I didn't know there was a good kind until today. There's a lot of things about this family you didn't know existed a year ago, Amina said. Turns out most of them were good ones. Turns out, she agreed. Noah gave the toast, his voice shaking before steadying. I used to think showing up meant grand gestures, he said, glass raised. Dad taught me it's actually the opposite. It's Tuesdays, terrible cooking, being embarrassing at basketball games on purpose, I'm almost sure at this point. Thank you for every ordinary day you didn't have to choose us, and chose us anyway. Halfway through the ceremony, Zara leaned toward the officiant's microphone and whispered, entirely too loudly, nobody interrupt this wedding. The room burst into laughter, Ha'in included, a real unguarded laugh. That was for you two, Zara told her parents afterward, entirely too pleased with herself. Symbolism. I read about it. You did not read about it, Jay said. I read a caption once. Same thing. The first wedding gave me a title, Minjun said, looking around the room. This one gave me a family. Later, Jay found a quiet moment beside his father on the same back steps where he'd once asked, guarded and half expecting a lie, why Minjun kept coming back. You were right, Jay said, about the watching instead of listening thing. I usually am, though I'll admit it happens rarely enough that I remember every single time. I stopped waiting for you to mess it up eventually. That's new. For me. For me too, Minjun admitted. I kept waiting to feel like I didn't deserve any of this. I've just stopped letting it stop me. Can I ask you something? Always. Are you scared of Grandma still? Minjun considered it. A little. Old habits, but less than I was 6 months ago. She's trying, in her own terrifying way. She called me last week to ask if I'd applied anywhere yet, for university. Did you tell her? I told her I was thinking about it. She said, and I quote, thinking is not the same as applying, Jay, and then hung up before I could argue. Minjun laughed. That sounds exactly like her. It was actually kind of nice, Jay admitted, having someone push. Nobody's ever pushed before. Mom was always careful not to pressure us about anything, because of everything with you. It's weird having a grandmother who just says what she thinks. Welcome to my entire childhood. I'm sorry. Don't be. It made me who I am, for better and worse. Mostly better, lately, Jay said, and it was the closest thing to I love you that either of them needed to say out loud. Minjun burned part of the reception food, and Ha-un, to everyone's astonishment, ate it anyway. Grandma, Zara said, watching her take a second bite. It tastes terrible. Ha-in considered this seriously. I know, it's made by family. That doesn't actually make it taste better. No, Ha-in agreed, but it makes me want to finish the plate anyway. That's either very sweet or you have no taste buds left after 80 years of business dinners, Zara said, grinning. Both can be true, Zara. I have accepted this about myself. Wait, Noah said, pointing between them with his fork. Did Grandma just make a joke? A real one? Should we be writing this down for posterity? I make jokes, Ha-yun said, affronted. I simply reserve them for people who have earned them. So we've earned it now? You earned it several months ago. I was simply waiting for the correct occasion to deploy it. That's the least funny explanation of a joke I've ever heard, Jay said, and somehow that makes it funnier. I will take that as a compliment. It was one, Amina said, smiling. The whole table erupted into laughter, in a cafe that had somehow become the center of an impossible, imperfect, entirely real family. Nobody at that table was thinking about mergers, or headlines, or 16 lost years, or the fear that had once kept two people apart for far too long. They were simply, quietly, fully present, the way families are supposed to be, on ordinary evenings that somehow become the ones you remember most, long after the extraordinary ones have faded into old newspaper clippings nobody bothers to keep. Success can build an empire. Pride can tear a family apart and take 16 years, or 80, to undo. But love was never really about grand gestures or perfect timing. It was built one burnt breakfast at a time, one forgiven mistake at a time, one small, ordinary choice to keep showing up, made over and over, long after anyone was still watching. A boy who once needed proof before he'd believe in consistency, finally learning to trust it without asking twice. A woman who once protected an empire, with spreadsheets and distance, learning that a family can't be managed the same way, only shown up for, again and again, without any guarantee of return. A father who once let fear write every decision of his life, finally choosing something because it was right, not because it was safe, and discovering, a little late but not too late, that the second choice was always the easier one to live with. If this story moved you even half as much as it moved us telling it, do us a favor before you go. Hit that subscribe button and give this video a like, because Afro Soul TV has so many more stories just like this one waiting for you. Family, love, second chances. The kind that stay with you long after the screen goes dark. We'd love to have you back for the next one. And one last thing, because we always want to know, every single time, tell us in the comments what time it is right now wherever you're watching from, and which country you're tuning in from. We read every single one, and we honestly can't wait to see just how far around the entire world this family has traveled tonight. One screen, one comment, one story at a time.